Hi there, Glocal Citizens. Welcome back to the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. I am your host, Florence Adu, coming to you from a spring morning here in NYC, Brooklyn, that is. And my guest and I were just catching up on the fluctuations of the season. And so we're both enjoying what is going to be a lovely spring day in our environs. And so this is another in our series with Black women in real estate. We, throughout the year, are going to be featuring women that are in the real estate sector across the globe, speaking about what the land means to them, what the land means to the Pan-African diaspora, and what it means for us to be stewards and understand how we interact with land. Because I think that one thing that we are often estranged from is our own connection. And so being in this real estate sector and in real estate industry, I think it's so important that, first of all, women, because from time immemorial, we have been the tenders of land. And then administrative processes have estranged us from that land by putting men and patriarchy in the place of we who understand are typically closer to the earth. So I'm loving having this series, speaking with women who are doing dynamic and awesome things in the real estate sector. And let us get to her bio and get to the conversation. She is a director in investor relations at M&G Real Estate and lead client director for the European real estate platform. She is responsible for investor relations and capital raising across the M&G European funds, overseeing relationships with more than 100 institutional investors across 20 international jurisdictions. With over 15 years experience in investor relations at global asset managers, she brings deep expertise across multi-asset investing, institutional product positioning, and long-term client relationship management. In the wider real estate investment community and industry governance, she sits on the INREV in Rev Due Diligence Committee and is a member of the City of London Guild of Investment Managers and the Ladies in Real Estate Committee. She's also a frequent moderator and panelist at leading industry conferences and investor events. And we have her speaking to us today, Nioki Doggett. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Florence. I'm so excited to be here. And as you said, today in London, I'm based in London, the weather is absolutely beautiful. So I'm always in a positive mood, but ever so much so because the weather is absolutely glorious. So
I love it.
A pleasure to be here.
Yay. Yes. So let's jump right in. Where are you from? Where are you local? And what is your craft?
Where am I from? So I am from Barbados. So both of my parents are Bajan, born in Barbados, first generation. They moved to the UK when they were late teenagers. So I consider myself of Bajan descent. Where am I local? I live in Northwest London. Well, just on the outskirts of Northwest London, but grew up in Berkshire, so grew up outside of London.
You said Berkshire?
Yes, the Royal County of Berkshire. I should have said that.
Okay, I've never heard of Berkshire, the Royal County. Tell us more.
Yeah, so it's where Windsor Castle is. So hence the royalty. It's the only royal county.
Really? Okay.
It is. So that's my only claim to royalty thus far.
Okay. I got it. Wonderful. So when we first met and caught up, you mentioned spending time in Barbados growing up. And so tell us more about that local. Like, what was that about? What is your local in Barbados?
Yeah. So as children, we went back to Barbados most summers, actually. I spent when I was 5, I spent about 6 months there, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. But so I grew up, I've got an older sister, 2 years older than me. And my parents thought it was really important for us to know our heritage, know our culture. My great-grandmother was still alive for quite a lot of my childhood.
Wow.
Which was lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
She was such a sweet woman. I had quite a sweet tooth, so she always used to give me sweets. That's what I remember about her.
Yeah.
Different types of candy. And then I've got a lot of family in Barbados, actually, aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. So for me, it was, as a child, it was great going back there, experiencing that culture from Barbados. Everything from the way people spoke to the food, to going to church, lots of different things, as well as the weather as well. My earliest memory probably is when I was about 3 or 4. walking down the steps of the plane and just feeling that heat and that immediate warmth. It was the warmth of the environment, yes, because it was really hot, but also the warmth of the people, everyone smiling and just feeling like you were home. So that's something that I still feel that today. So every time we go back, I get that same feeling. The plane door opens, I walk down the steps, I feel the warmth, the love, the music. You usually hear a steel band as it's taking me back as you walk down the steps, and you just feel so welcomed. It's a beautiful island. It's my second home.
Yeah. So tell us more about the city or the location, because I like to get into the geography. So where on the island did you spend most of your time?
So on the West Coast. So my parents are actually from opposite ends of the island. So my dad is from the East Coast, somewhere called St. Andrew, and that's the Atlantic Ocean. So it's the sea is quite rough. It's quite rocky. It's where quite a lot of surfers go. Not many tourists used to go to that part of the island because there was a beautiful landscape to see, but you can't necessarily swim there. That's changed quite a lot, especially as people's tolerance for different types of terrain and environment has changed. So it's quite popular to go there now, but you wouldn't necessarily go there as a tourist to stay. And my mum came from the west side of the island, which is the more beautiful side of the island. The sea is calm.
That's the Caribbean Sea, I would imagine. That's the Caribbean side.
The Caribbean Sea. So my mum is from an area called St. Peter. So Barbados is divided into 14 different parishes. And my mum was from St. Peter, which was on the west side of the island. So very calm waters. She was from the countryside, though. So palm trees, beautiful greenery, scenery, just a lovely, quiet part of the island. So that's where I spent most of my time when we went back there as children in St. Peter.
Got it. Nice. So I got a mini tour. I haven't been to Barbados. It's high on my list. However, yes, I know.
You need to go.
It's very high on my list, and soon is what I can say, because I only hear good things about Barbados. And I feel like a fun fact is I think a lot of Bajans originally in migration come from the Gulf of Guinea, where Ghana is. So I think there's that root connection that exists. So I feel like I'll feel right. I'll feel right at home.
You will do. You will do. Yes. You have to go.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so let's talk about how a young woman from Bajan heritage decides that land is her story. How did you come into the real estate sector?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, really, for me in real estate. So I actually haven't been in real estate for the whole of my career. To go right back, I studied history at university. And I was I'm arty, I would say. Arty as in humanities. I was a bit of an all-rounder, actually, to be fair. I shouldn't do myself the justice of saying that I was arty, because I thrived at school. I thrived in that type of environment. So I was pretty good across all subjects, but the arts, humanities was, I would say, my favorite. So I studied history, and at university, I met my husband, and he was studying financial economics. And he said the way to make money is to go into finance. So I said, yeah, I want to make money. So after university, I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, so PwC, on their tax grad scheme, which was great. And the department I worked in was investment management and real estate. So that was my first, I guess, glimpse into the investment management or asset management world, working for those types of clients. Working in tax was not for me. I'm more of a people person. So sitting in the back, filling out tax returns was not my cup of tea, even though I loved PwC. It was great. Made so many friends there. So I, then after that, I worked for US firm Alliance Bernstein, and that was my first investor relations role. And there I worked in equities and fixed income, which I, again, absolutely loved. And I've had subsequent roles since then at other asset managers, but always in fixed income and equities. So my first real estate role was actually at M&G, and so at M&G Real Estate, where I am now. And it's the longest place I've ever worked. So that's a good sign. 8 years I have been here now. And I had never thought about going into the real estate industry or the real estate business at all, even in investor relations, which is where I am. It was just something an area I didn't really know about. Yeah. So, or I had ever come across. And when I first got approached by a recruitment agent about the role, I said, no, I'm happy, I'm fine. I loved my role at the time. And then a few of my peers went for the interview at M&G and came back and were raving about how great this company was. So I thought, ooh, this sounds interesting. Picked up the phone, called the recruitment agent, and then said I would like to go for the interview, and subsequently got the job. And ever since then, I have loved the industry. I just love the fact that real estate is so tangible. You're working with buildings, you're working with offices where some of us work, retail where you shop, logistics where all our, I probably shouldn't say Amazon, where all our packages come from, and also residential where we all live. So I find it very, very interesting. And my role isn't necessarily investments, also investing in those buildings or purchasing those. I'm on the investor relations side. So I know everything that's going on in a particular fund or a particular strategy. But my role is to liaise with investors, get investors into our funds, and then also maintain those relationships. So my role is completely relationship driven.
Sure.
Yes, you have to have the technical knowledge, which is vast, but my main role is investor relations. So introducing new investors to the fund, so prospective investors, as well as maintaining those existing relationships with investors within the fund. And like you said, I work with over 100 institutional investors across 20 different jurisdictions. So you can imagine all the different types of cultures, personalities. And that's something which I just thrive on. I love that side of my role.
That's so interesting. So take us into the mechanics, right, of these funds that M&G basically assembles, right? So M&G assembles the funds, and then they, decide on, whatever kind of affinities, agglomerations that can be achieved by putting certain funds together to attract investors, is my assumption. And so tell us more about like the way of stewarding, or not stewarding, but attracting and keeping that relationship going with these investors, and even attracting, like figuring out what product is appropriate for specific investors.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. I like the fact you said attracting, keeping, and stewarding. So those three words, especially, because one area which I'm totally passionate about is retention. So retaining clients and keeping those clients happy. And I think that's probably one of my strengths, one of my unique strengths. I value relationships deeply. So for me personally, it's about, getting the client through the door in the first place, whether that's through a direct relationship, whether that's through a what we call a request for proposal, so an RFP. So for example, a client X pension fund could come to M&G or other firms and state they have certain criteria, what they're looking for. And we could fill in the RFP, so a list of questions, and go back. And then you have back and forth. Then you have a beauty parade, a pitch, etc. Hopefully successfully win the client. But that's not the end. For me, that's just the beginning. But what I always say is from day one, so from the moment you get that RFP, the moment you receive that, for me, I'm treating the whole process, obviously very professionally, but also I'm already thinking about the longer term relationship. So for me, it's all relationship driven. It's about how you answer those specific questions, not necessarily that I would answer those, but how you answer those specific questions. The relationship you have from the start, for me, is so important because it's something that you always remember. You remember the person who sent you back the RFP. You remember if they gave you a call to say thank you, or if they had any questions. You remember all of those things. The first moment you meet them, you remember them. And this, I think, is where culture comes into it as well. So for me, as mentioned, 20 different jurisdictions. So for example, Japanese culture. I absolutely love Japanese culture. I love the hospitality. I love the reverence. I love how professional it is. I love how traditional it is as well. And I love the fact that there are certain rules which you abide by. And for me personally, if I have a Japanese investor or I'm going to traveling around Tokyo, for example. So I'm fortunate that I get to travel in my role to meet existing investors and also to meet prospective investors. And for me, when I'm going to a different culture, I take that so seriously. So for my first trip to Japan, I read a lot about Japanese culture, especially business culture as well, from what to wear, colors, what to wear, what would be appropriate, what wouldn't be offensive. Also, even down to my nail varnish, right? I thought I love getting my nails done, but I thought, probably shouldn't wear, I don't know, fuchsia. Not that I have fuchsia nails, only on holiday. But I thought of every little aspect. And even when you give business cards. So if you've ever been to a business meeting in Tokyo or in Japan, you wait to receive your business cards first. So from an investor or whoever you're meeting. So they will give you their business card. They give it to you with two hands because that's respect. You take it with 2 hands. You make sure you have it. You make sure you read front and then, which is usually in English because I'm English, and then you turn it over and it's in Japanese. And even the way when you receive it graciously, obviously, and you receive it with two hands, which you're giving it with. And then you give them your business card and it's the same. So two hands, they take it, etc. And then you go back to your desk or wherever you're sitting in the meeting room, not a desk, at the table. And the order in which you put your meeting cards is based in order of hierarchy. So I've read all of this and my Tokyo colleagues have been great also about educating me. But for me, that's part of the culture. So for me, when I get those business cards in those meetings, I'm making sure that they're in the order, not that anybody's checking.
Sure.
Obviously, they understand that I'm Western from the UK, so don't necessarily expect that. But for me, because it's so important in your culture, I'm going to respect that and reflect that in the meeting.
Yeah.
And even the way you sit in meetings is also in hierarchy as well. So for me, the beautiful thing about my role is working with investors and prospects from all of these different cultures. So from Japanese investors right down to, I don't know, investors from the UK or investors from the Netherlands, the Dutch investors who are more direct, which I also absolutely love. I love all of my investors, but there's certain cultures that I warm to. I particularly warm to the Dutch culture. I do. Yeah, I do. I've been saying this. I don't know what it is. I think my Dutch I think all of my investors, this sounds quite arrogant, but I don't in an arrogant way. I think investors generally do like me, but particularly my Dutch investors do as well. And they've expressed that as well. But there's an affinity which I have, I think, particularly with Dutch investors. I guess actually there's an affinity I have with Europe. When I say Europe, I mean excluding the UK. I'm the continent of Europe. I love being in Europe. I love working with European investors. And there's just an affinity which I have with Dutch investors. I'm not sure what it is. My great-grandfather was from Curacao, so maybe that's ex-Dutch colony. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's in the blood. I don't know. But maybe. I love working. Yeah, maybe. But that said, I love working with different cultures. So not just European and Japanese. I've got investors from North America, so from Canada. I think I just love different cultures. I think it's the way I grew up, where I grew up as well, mixing with loads of different cultures from being in church and other parts, not necessarily school because that was a bit different. And also the work environment in the UK is a bit different as well. Yeah. But I just love being with different cultures. So that's something I really enjoy about my role.
Nice. So speaking, you kind of brought this up, so I want to go deeper. Speaking about culture and placement, why the where? How did you come to be living, working, and playing where you currently are? Considering you probably had a choice to be in other places. We know that, you chose your sector based on, what made sense for future planning. But why the where?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I consider myself quite this is glocal citizens. So I consider myself quite glocal as well. I think I'm one of those personalities or people that probably could live in a variety of cities. I love large cities. I love different cultures, but I love London. London is my home. I love what we call the melting pot. The fact that you can walk out on the street in London, you can see people from all the cultures, all walks of life, you can get any type of cuisine in London. I love that. I love the history of London. I love summer, but I love all seasons. And that's what you get in London. I love that. So that's probably why I'm here. That said, I probably could live in most cities because I love experiencing different types of cultures. But the thing I love about London is just the diversity. Yeah, that's not necessarily something I had. Actually, I grew up in Berkshire, like I said, in a town called Reading, and that was quite diverse, but obviously not as diverse as London.
So when you think about why you chose your specific neighborhood, so you're in London, what is the why of how you chose the neighborhood that you currently are in?
Yeah, I wanted to be somewhere that was close to London or still in London, but still had elements of suburbia. So where I live is northwest London. So that's quite leafy for London as well, for a city. So I like that. I'm a keen runner, so I love to be outside, and I wanted to be in an area where I could run and have that type of environment. I have a family as well, so I wanted to be somewhere which had more space, greenery, good school.
Yeah.
And just somewhere not necessarily in the center of the city,
Sure.
somewhere on the outskirts, which is why I chose where I live now.
Certain quality of life elements that make it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk more about the learning curve for you coming from a finance background and then being in the property space. What kinds of things have you done or were offered to you in order to kind of get you to the point of really understanding land and real estate in the way that you do now to be able to do your role?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate. The team who I work with currently, who I've been working for the last 8 years, have been very receptive. They knew that I did not have a real estate background, which was not an issue. They taught me on the job. They've been very patient with me as well. I think they could see my qualities too, and they have nurtured those. And I've learned quite a lot on the job. And because real estate's so tangible as well, it was quite not easy to pick up, but quite quick to pick up, because when they're talking about, for example, why we're buying, I don't know, a purpose-built student accommodation in Lisbon, you can understand the area because you can obviously see that on Google Maps or whatever other source you use. You can see the area, you can understand the demographics behind it, the reasoning, the rationale. So quite a lot of it I learned on the job and just through a lot of reading as well. I love mastering my craft. So for me, it's a case of really doing a lot of reading, listening to a lot of podcasts, and just really getting into the industry and into the sector and learning a lot more, going to a lot of conferences, doing a lot of courses as well. And for me, I guess I've always known that I didn't necessarily have a real estate background or a background in finance. So I have done professional qualifications as well. But for me, knowing that, I guess I've always tried a little bit harder to ensure that I understand. So yeah, for me, it's been a mixture of things, but I've been very fortunate to have a great team behind
a great
working
environment.
Yeah, a great working environment. Yeah.
Now, I want to remind myself, because I was so intrigued. Did you tell us what your craft is? I asked where you're from, where you're local. Yeah, you didn't. So how would you describe your craft? What is your craft?
Yeah, well, that is such a good question. What is my craft? I think I don't know if this is even a craft. I think I'm a relationship extraordinaire. I don't know if that's...
Oh, okay.
I've just made it up. But I think I have. It's probably patented. But I think that is my craft. Being with people, understanding true quality client relationships and client service is something that, for me, I take deeply personally.
Sure. And
for me, it's about giving investors, giving clients the experience which I would want being on the other side and actually going above and beyond. So I get quite a lot of unsolicited feedback from my clients, from investors who've always praised how I excel in that area. And so I think that's my craft. I think you mentioned during the opening that I moderate conferences and I'm a speaker. That's also my craft as well. I actually originally wanted to be a newsreader or a journalist.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I loved being on stage. And I think that again comes from my childhood. So I was fortunate to grow up in a very loving family. My parents were great. I was fortunate to go to a very good school. So they sacrificed a lot to send me to quite a prestigious school, which was lovely. My grandparents from Barbados, but they lived within walking distance from our house. So I grew up in a very loving family. I speak dearly about my grandparents who have now passed, but they, I guess, were the first individuals who showed me what love is. And I think that's quite unusual for that generation. So they were born in 1929 and 1935, but they were so affectionate and loving towards each other and then towards the grandchildren as well. So I think that type of environment made me the person I am today. I'm the younger of two sisters. So I think when you're the youngest, you're always the one shouting and vying for attention, right? So I've always been pretty chatty and pretty vocal. Then I also grew up in the church, which is there's three elements, I guess, to my life, which have made me the person I am today. Secondly was the church. So I've grown up in the church since I was a baby. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of church, when we were 4 years old, my sister and I and my cousins, we went to Sunday school. And so that was every Sunday. And we had these, they weren't textbooks, but Sunday school books, they were called. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And each week there was a particular theme. So just say the theme was forgiveness. So that could be the theme that week. And there was a specific text you had to read to get background to forgiveness from the Bible. And then there was some text which you had to memorize, which was called the golden text. So you'd get 4 or 5 lines, a verse in the Bible. So from the age of 4, I've had a very good memory, because each week you'd have to remember these golden texts. Mm-hmm. And you'd have to stand up in front of everybody in the church and say the name of your class and give the topic and then the golden text. And then once every quarter, you would have to recite 4 golden texts in any particular order to the whole church as well, as a little competition between all the classes. So I've grown up in an environment where I've always been used to public speaking. Mm-hmm. From that age, whether it be the golden text, or I also used to give, actually, not many people know this, I used to give sermons in church as well. Mm-hmm. So I've always grown up and I was in the choir, I was in different groups, etc. So I've always grown up in that type of environment from a very young age. Yeah. And then thirdly, school. So I absolutely loved school. I speak about school fondly because it's one of my greatest memories. I loved every single day of attending school. Again, that was a great environment. My parents, actually, when I first started, they signed me up to something called speech and drama. Mm-hmm. They thought it was, I think, elocution lessons, but it wasn't at all. It was actually, like it says on the tin, speech and drama. So acting. Yeah. And also different types of speech. So learning different plays or reciting or reading. The area I excelled in was reading. So I did a lot of public reading. So a lot of competitions, took part in a lot of competitions, won quite a lot of competitions as well, which was nice. Got the highest grades in everything, which was amazing. And that was just my personality. So I've been used to speaking publicly from there as well. Sure. So when I got the opportunity, which came about actually by being at M&G and being in this real estate role to speak, for me, I had the background. Yeah. I guess people that don't necessarily know me, probably when the first time they saw me speak, thought, oh, didn't know Nioki could speak, or Nioki would be a good panelist. But for me, I've always had that grounding, but I've never, ever had the opportunity in a professional working environment to shine. Mm-hmm. So I think when I got that opportunity to shine, then you build on that. After that, you get one opportunity, then you get subsequent others. And I think that has been an area which I generally have loved, because I think that, again, is one of my crafts. I think being able to connect with the audience, being able to speak publicly, which is not easy, and especially in different types of environments, that has been something which I have really, really, really enjoyed, and really been grateful and thankful that I've been in that position. Yeah. Especially as a Black woman.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly. Yeah.
Speaking about that.
Right.
So real estate is predominantly white male dominated.
Exactly.
And a particular type of, I guess, white male. So I tend to go into rooms where there are not many people that look like me at all. I probably could list them on one hand or a couple of fingers. If that. So there's not anyone, I don't think, doing my exact role that I've come across in Europe, Black female. So that in itself brings its own challenges. But I would say I've never felt out of place. Maybe that's to do with my personality or to the way I've grown up, or just I'm not sure what the reason or rationale is. But I've always felt like I've belonged. And I've always felt like I am in the right place for me, which I think is very important. Yes, I can walk into a room and be the only person of color. Yeah. In meetings, be the only person of color. But I haven't let that stop me or define who I am or change anything about my path or my career trajectory. So it is an area which I think the real estate industry need to take a closer look at, especially with representation. But hopefully, as a result of seeing me, and also that I obviously can do a lot more for women and also for Black women in particular in the industry to showcase our talents as well. That's something, again, that I'm passionate about too.
Yeah, you hit it on those, because I was just going to start asking you about that experience of being the only, primarily, and being able to excel. And I think you covered it very well in terms of saying it was something that was from birth, basically. You were in this cocoon of love that you never doubted yourself, is what I'm hearing. Is like you always knew that you were who you were going to be and you could show up as that person. And so if you think about how you might approach mentoring young women who are looking or interested in getting into the real estate sector, what are some of the things that you would advise them on or kind of direct them to be able to be successful in the sector?
Yeah, I would say, I always say this, be yourself, bring your own personality to whatever role you're going into within real estate. I think sometimes there could be the want or need or I guess perception to conform. But I think the unique features you may have as, well, it could be just part of your personality or as a Black woman, I think they are important, and they're important for those to shine, whatever your qualities may be. That's, I don't know, warmth, music, whatever it may be. I think it's important for those qualities to shine. I mentor for a charity at the moment who looks to help Black real estate, underrepresented ethnic groups, Black in this particular circumstance, get into the real estate business. So from graduates down, so those that are in their first, second, or third year of university. I don't mentor any females at the moment. It's male, but yeah, it's an area that I definitely want to get more involved with, and especially because I am that representation, right? I think when you're the only one, or when there's few of you, you feel that want, that need, that desire. I guess it's on your shoulders to mentor the next generation or to be that example, which again is quite a lot of pressure as well. It's a lot of pressure to be the best, I guess. I think, especially when you're the only representation, right? So you could be the only Black person that people have come into contact with in a professional setting. And you want to maintain that professionalism, which you probably have. Well, I should speak about myself, which I have naturally, but there's that added pressure of being the only one or the only representation, so that people form their opinions on, hopefully not, but on a whole race or a whole type of person, because you are the only one that they see. Yeah. And that is a lot of pressure, I think. That is not pressure necessarily. That is a lot of responsibility. And it's something that I probably don't talk about, because I guess for me, I'm in this industry. I love it. I've excelled. That's been great. But I don't necessarily always talk about that side of things. Yeah. Not necessarily because I think it's unprofessional. I don't know. I don't know the reason why, but it's something that I'm talking about a lot more. So, for example, last year I did, for Black History Month, I spoke at a Black woman in real estate event, and that was about my my journey, what it's like to be a Black woman in the real estate industry, etc. So I'm willing to speak a lot more about it, and being a woman generally within such a male-dominated industry. But yeah, it's not easy, but yeah, it's getting better slowly.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a mindset. And so with that in mind, let's talk about your mindset hack. How do you hack your mindset? Something you do, something you've heard of, or something that you practice?
Yeah. So I love running. When I talk about running or when I talk about fitness, I always say I had like this, I went on a fitness regime 3 years ago, but I actually am going to change my story. Not change my story. The actual real story is my dad is very, very fit. He could have been a professional cricket player, football, rugby. He was absolutely brilliant at sports, but he had a conflict with church. So it was either church or sports, and church won. But I come from quite a sporty family. So at school, I was sports captain. I was in most teams. So I've always been sporty in that sense. I guess as you go through life, loads of things happen, have family, etc. So sports wasn't really something that I pursued. But 3 years ago now, I went to the doctor, and my blood pressure was a little bit high. So knowing in true Nioki fashion, it was, I'm not going to the GP, I'm going straight to the cardiologist because I want to see what the problem is. So I went to a cardiologist. Everything was fine, thank God. But the cardiologist said to me at the time, what type of exercise do you do? And I said, I go to Reformer Pilates 3 times a week. And he said, well, at your age, really, you should be doing a lot more cardio. Which really offended me at my age. He called me middle-aged, actually. He said, being middle-aged, you should do a lot more cardio. So I went home and I said to my husband, right, the doctor called me middle-aged and said I should be doing a lot more cardio. And when you tell Nioki something, especially if it's a part of my personality again, I'm like, right, the doctor said I needed to do more cardio. Do you know what? I'm going to be the best cardio person in the world. The same day I joined the gym, and then I started my fitness journey. So it started small. I increased the amount of reformer Pilates I do. So that's Pilates on the machine, which I find so therapeutic. So I started Pilates actually because I had a slipped disc.
Yeah.
And I had tried everything, and that's the only thing that cured me. But to complement that, I started running as well. I had actually ran, like, I don't know, back in 2010. So it's not like I wasn't a runner, but I started running frequently.
Yeah.
And I remember when I started this regime, and I remember telling people, yes, so I'm going to run 10K every day, and I'm going to do reformer Pilates 3, 4, 5 times a week. Everyone's like, you won't last running every day. Of course you won't. I'm pleased to say 3 years later, I still run 10K every day.
Really? Nice.
And Pilates. So yeah, for me, that's how I clear my mind. I love being outside. I love being in nature. I love running. So I run with some colleagues as well. Who are very lovely. And I run by myself, but I'm a morning person. So I'm a bit, I'm in the gym for 4:30. Or sometimes 4:30 a.m.
Okay. Yeah.
So I try to get everything done in the morning, but that's my mindset. I love running. I love fitness. But those are probably my 2 greatest passions, as well as music.
Okay.
I absolutely love music. I love feeling music. You know, when you can really feel music, like you feel it in your soul, or you like feel it in your bones. I always like to say, I've, again, always loved music, always been in choirs, whether at school, at church, always been on the stage singing. But I think, and I've always loved all different types of music. But a couple of years ago, I got back into contact with like some old uni friends, and I think I got maybe like a bit of a confidence boost from one of these uni friends. And it wasn't anything profound. I think just spending more time and being in their company. But then after that, my love for music excelled even more. And I started to really feel music, even though I've always felt music my whole life. So I love music. I just, absolutely love everything.
Nice. So we know when we get to what you do in your spare time, we'll get more specifics on that. But before that, I want to go back to what you also do aside from M&G. So you're on a committee and a few committees. So tell us about what those experiences are like and what the goals and purposes of those two associations are.
Yeah, of course. So one of the committees that I'm on is the Ladies in Real Estate Committee. So that is ladies in real estate who are underrepresented because it's a male-dominated industry. I'm on the social committee there.
Oh, okay.
So my responsibility is finding CEOs to interview, female CEOs to interview, and to show women, senior women, and also not senior women, what their journey has been like. So that's what I'm responsible for, putting that program together once a quarter, and also for other social types of events with ladies in real estate. It's a great network. It's a great community, especially as women are so underrepresented in real estate. So I love being part of that. I'm also part of INREV, which you mentioned. So INREV is Europe's leading platform for non-listed real estate insights. It's also a benchmark. Also, it provides different guidelines. I'm on their due diligence committee.
Okay.
And that is looking at the due diligence process for new investors coming into funds or existing investors. So it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of questions, etc. So I'm working on like rehauling that at the moment. So the DDQ questionnaire. So that's great because it's industry related. The INREV body is brilliant. It's great. It's leading within the industry. So I enjoy that. I enjoy the technical side of it as well. So looking at questions, trying to make them more concise and thinking about things from an investor perspective, but also from a manager perspective as well. So I enjoyed that a lot as well. I'm also on the Guild of Investment Managers. I'm part of the Guild of Investment Managers, and I'm on their social committee there as well. So the Guild of Investment Managers was founded back in 2015 by a group of investment managers. And it's a guild which was created to combine benefits of a modern, diverse and dynamic network organization with the traditions of the livery world. So the livery world is quite traditional. there's a lasting legacy. There's a lot of history, especially in the City of London. So the Guild of Investment Managers, the group of investment managers, was created to complement that. So I enjoy being on that. They host a lot of great events, whether it be, for example, recently they held an event about women investing, for example. It's not a female-only committee at all.
Yeah.
But they hold lots of different events. They hold lots of nice traditional balls as well, which is nice, beautiful, in very old buildings. It's nice to get dressed up.
Yeah.
And then as I mentioned, I'm also a mentor as well for a foundation. So quite sociable. I like to give back. I think that's one of my callings. And especially, like I said, in the real estate industry as well, where there aren't that many, there's not that great representation.
Right.
I see it as my duty to give back.
Sure. So speaking about representation and markets, because you mentioned Europe and Asia, I want to understand more about what you think the outlook is for investment funds and this may already be happening, but the Caribbean and Africa. So looking at real estate and funds, really diving deep into that, what do you see happening and what do you see are the barriers to entry in those spaces potentially?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I think that's an area which we are not we being M&G. I mean, we as in we collective, we are not exploring that much. I think especially with Africa, it's so vast, got one of the biggest growing populations for a continent.
Yeah.
I think there's so much opportunity there. There's so much land, which is vast. And especially being a young population as well, right? It's quite a lot of the countries have quite a lot of youth. And I think it's an area which has been unexplored by those outside of Africa. I know there's quite a lot of Chinese influence and investment in Africa, the same as the Caribbean as well. But I think for Africans or for Caribbeans or from people from that diaspora who may be living in, I don't know, the States or Europe, I think that is a missed opportunity. I think there is an opportunity to invest in, I guess, where your family are from or where you're originally from. I don't like saying that, but you know what I mean. I think that is a missed opportunity. And I think being from, whether it's Africa or the Caribbean, you naturally have that connection. I think being in a professional, if you are in the real estate industry or in a professional environment, I think you obviously have the expertise as well. So I think it's a missed opportunity for those who may be living outside of Africa and the Caribbean to actually invest back into their own country. I think it's definitely going to be, or continent. I definitely think it's an area which would be a great investment as well, especially Africa and also the Caribbean too.
Right. So thinking about the larger markets, when I think about how we in the diaspora are very comfortable with investing in funds that are European or Asian or South American to a large degree, the confidence in those systems or markets seems to be a huge barrier, right? So, and also the intelligence. So if you were to think about what those on the ground or, with your understanding of how funds work and investor relations, what do you think are the key things that on a policy level and on the ground sector level would necessarily need to be facilitated for us to say, yes, that is the place we want to invest and we will be coming?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there needs to be a lot more transparency. I think in, not that I'm an expert at all at investing in Africa or the Caribbean at all, because I'm not. But I think a lot more transparency would be needed, a lot more regulation as well. I think people feel comfortable investing in the US, in Europe, in Asia, because there is that level of regulation. There's the government, there's laws, there's certain criteria you have to meet in order to build an office in Frankfurt, for example. There's certain rent regulations, there's certain criteria, there's certain rules. I think sometimes when you look at the Caribbean or you look at Africa, there may not necessarily be those rules, or those rules may be there, but there couldn't be ways
enforcement.
To get around those.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, that's a good word. Enforcement of those rules isn't necessarily there. So the markets are not necessarily as developed or as professional. So I think that is a barrier. Not saying that it's not a good investment. I think those are natural barriers which you think of before you even looked at the investment opportunity, right? So there may be a compelling investment opportunity, but if you're thinking of investing in, I don't want to say any particular place, but if you're thinking of investing in place X, compared to London or Paris, where there is already that infrastructure built up. There is already those rules, those regulations. It's a developed market. So I think it's always difficult for a developing market, especially one that can be perceived as not as professional.
Yeah. So de-risking is the word.
De-risking. Yeah, you've got all the words. That's what I needed. Yeah. There we go.
Right. So it sounds like you're in a great place, wonderful place, but I also want to know what's new and next for you. So where do you see yourself in the next, 3 to 5 years? What's Nioki doing?
That question. I love that question. What is Nioki doing? Does Nioki even know what she's doing? I think for me, as I said, I love relationships. I love building relationships. And professionally, I want to keep doing that and exploring those opportunities. M&G as a business is growing, different funds, different ways of investing, different partnerships. So I would like to explore that. It's not just the traditional funds, joint ventures, separate accounts. That's more technical. That side of things, exploring different types of relationships as well. On a personal level, I love presenting. I love being on stage. I love connecting people as well. That's one of my other strengths. So I think for me, I love events. I love putting events together. I love putting people in contact with each other to further their careers, but also in a more professional manner as well. So that's probably an area I'd look to expand on as well, whether it be, finding speakers for events, connecting people where I think somebody could be, for example, a good keynote speaker.
Yeah.
I could see myself more on the business to business. This is obviously separate from work, business to business side of things as well, because I love putting people together and I love putting people who I think would work well together, whether that be in sports, whether that be more professionally as well. That's an area that I would like to pursue.
You sound like such a people person. Like all the people I've spoken to, you're like the most people person. And I love that you really are invested in our human progress in that way, right? Because that's how we connect. So let's talk about who you are when you're not on the clock. You said music was one of your big things, but are you a reader, a watcher, in addition to being a listener? And what are some of your favorite reads, watches, or listens? And anything else that you do in your off the clock time?
Ooh, I'm definitely a watcher. I love series. I think I don't know if I should say this. I'm like a pseudo-American. I love, my friends described it as, I've always wanted to be American since I was about, 3. I think growing up, you always saw the US, right? Bright lights, everything was always beautiful, everything was always nice. They always had the nice cars and nice houses. It's all what we call, right, in the modern world, aspirational living. And I love aspirational living. Yeah. So I've always loved everything American. So I love not all American TVs. I love American dramas. Okay. So I loved this is old now, but I loved Scandal. I loved ER. I love Grey's Anatomy. It's probably one of my favorite shows. I've watched all 22 seasons. I love that show so much. And I'm totally invested in it. And I will continue watching it until it's no longer there. Okay. I love that show. I love any type of drama. I love British dramas as well, because I love seeing like the British environment. I do love those too. So I'm a watcher, but I say I don't actually watch a lot of TV, not as much as I used to. At the moment with my son, we've just finished watching The Apprentice together. Okay. And like the UK Apprentice, the UK version, which was great. It was good to see like different business ideas, and he's 12. Okay. So afterwards we'd have like a conversation, or actually during it. So actually watching TV with a 12-year-old is different to watching TV by yourself. Because he's talking a lot, and I'm like, pausing. Reese, we need to concentrate. He's like, but Mum, did you see one? I'm like, oh yeah, actually, that's quite a good point. Yeah. So, and just teaching him, he's learning a lot about business as well. Yeah. Great. So it's educational. We watched Dragon's Den together as well. So it's been educational as well as a good watch. So I'm a watcher in that sense, but I would say I'm more of a listener. I love music. As I've said, I've probably said it 1,000 times. So every day I've got my headphones in I love walking as well as running. So I have a 30-minute walk every day to the station and different stations as well. So that's me with my headphones in, listening to all different genres of music. Me and my headphones, getting into my own world and just taking myself off somewhere else, feeling the lyrics, feeling the beat, feeling everything, even down to the other day I was listening to some music, and it was, I can't remember who I was listening to, but it was with a real band. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can hear the drums. Because usually when you hear songs, it's not a live drum. And I'm like, oh my goodness, did you hear that beat? It was great. And just really feeling the music for me. So yeah, I'm a watcher, to answer your question, sorry. A watcher and a listener.
And a listener.
But more of a listener.
Okay. I love
podcasts as well.
Who did you listen to today?
Today, actually, so I listened to 3 different artists today.
Okay.
First of all, Bruno Mars.
Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to Bruno Mars' new album, which was a good pick-me-up. I was dancing away to that in the lift. But prior to that, I was listening to Marvin Sapp, who is a gospel artist. I love gospel music because I think that really, really gets into, like I was saying, into your bones, into your soul. So I was listening to him also, and then Adele.
Oh, okay.
Adele's usually quite like melancholy, right? And sad and like, music.
Yeah.
But she came, I've been actually moving to grind back. I've been listening to a lot of 90s R&B. I love 90s R&B.
Yeah. It's a thing now.
Yeah, it is a thing. So I was listening to a mixture of different artists. And then after, I think I was listening to Mary J. Blige. And after that, Adele came on. And I thought, oh, I haven't listened to Adele for so long. And so then I was listening to her. And then it went to Olivia Dean, who I've got like a girl crush on her. I love Olivia Dean. And I loved her even before she was like,
Olivia Dean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And before she was like cool. I love her. Every single song on that album I could listen to forever and ever and ever. So I was the 4th artist today. It depends on my mood as well. Sometimes I start with a bit of gospel, then I go to like Adele, but Olivia Dean and Daniel Caesar, my other. Absolutely love him. Yeah. He is brilliant. Again, that real music, that real soul, that really, really
yeah. Everyone you mentioned is like properly soulful music. Like they properly have like vocal chops, and they have music instrumentation, and that really draws you in. So I can see your taste. Good taste. Not that I would tell anyone they have bad taste, but it's on message with the soulfulness and the really gets into you. So I love that. Yay! Nioki, this is so awesome. I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you, and I look forward to staying in contact about, in this women in real estate space, and just kind of watching you grow and flourish and being a leader in the real estate space in the UK. It's not easy. So that's why, I love the energy that you bring to it. We all know what it's like to be, single in those rooms. And then so many people suffer from imposter syndrome, right? And so that's a huge issue that you obviously have managed, and you're doing great at it. And so before we sign off for today, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience and women in real estate?
Oh, yeah. Well, firstly, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and this space to tell my story and also to communicate with you. You've got great energy as well. And I've told you already, I love your accent. So, thank you. I've been very comfortable, and it's been an honor to be here. Yeah. I'm just going to try and continue to represent Black women, represent Black women in the real estate industry, the more wider financial industry as well. If there's anybody out there who wants to connect with me, who's based in Europe, UK, or wherever, please feel free. I'm always happy to make new connections. If I can help in any way, I would be honored to help. Or if there's anything that I can do to help others, or anything that I can do to add representation, right? So for me, it's all about representation. I'm in a fortunate position, yes, with my company. I'm in a fortunate position, yes, with my role. And somebody said to me, actually, so I gave a speech to women undergrads who were in their 2nd year of university about, 18 months ago. And it was just a speech about my career. To me, it was nothing particularly profound. And the organizer came to speak to me afterwards, and she said to me, Nioki, you're humble, but you do not know the power of your reach.
Yeah.
And after she said that to me, I thought to myself, No, I don't. So for me, this is my job, right? I should excel at my job. I should want to be the best because that is my job. But when she said, you do not know the power of your reach, that really stuck with me. And I thought, I'm in a fortunate position where I've got power, not as in power as in authority.
Sure.
I've got a reach, right? I can connect with people. I can be that example. I can be that role model. So for me, that was a great experience. That's the first time I've ever felt like a superstar. So after I gave, actually, no, that's maybe the second or third time. I gave a speech. After I gave that speech, it was to like I said, second year undergrads.
Yeah.
Afterwards, there was a queue literally of about, I don't know, 45 girls in wanting to speak to me. And that's the only time I felt like Beyonce. I'm like, this is what it's like for Beyonce. Not that I'm comparing myself just
right.
I am not comparing myself to Beyonce.
Sure.
But it was nice to be in a position of influence.
Yeah. For good. Yeah.
For good. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. For good. So I loved that. So that's probably my final thoughts. I'm so open to doing more, right? I think I've got the energy, I've got the inclination to do so. So for me, whatever I can do that can help somebody, I just want to do that.
And we're here for it. Your contact information, how to reach you will be in the show notes, folks. So you can take Nioki up on her offer and engage. Leave us a note, leave us something that helps us to continue the dialogue and keep moving forward. All right, Glocal Citizens, this has been another episode of the podcast. You can catch us Tuesdays with new episodes at glocalcitizenspod.com or wherever you get your podcast. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave us a review, engage, check out the show notes. They're going to be rich. And again, you can connect with Nioki and find out more about Black women in real estate. And until next time, bye for now.